Hello, everyone. I'm Gorilla Monsoon.
And I'm your host, Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Oh, why don't you be serious? You're not the host, Brain.
Well, I should be.
Chris DiFrancesco is the host.
Chris DiFrancesco?
Yes, that's correct. I didn't stutter.
Didn't he get whacked in an episode of The Sopranos?
Oh, give me a break. He hosts a podcast, Brain.
Who the hell doesn't?
Well, his is about wrestling.
Who the hell's isn't?
He talks about old wrestling.
Wow! What a novel idea.
Oh, give me a break.
Next, you're going to tell me he's got a wrestling-themed name for the show?
Well,
Come on, Monsoon, spit it out.
it's the Hot Tag Wrestling Podcast,
So what?
and it's starting now.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Hot Tag Wrestling Podcast, Hot Tag Wrestling Show. If you're watching this on YouTube, I am Chris DiFrancesco. Dean and George are with us. It's almost like a complete literal multiverse where this is wrestling. We're with the Multiverse Movie Podcast host here. Well, George is here every single week. First off, I just want to say thank you so much to everybody in the YouTube family that follows us on YouTube. I think as of about 10 minutes ago, I was looking. Let me see what the updated number is. As of right now, we are at 539 subscribers on our YouTube show, which is the Hot Tag Wrestling Show. So thank you guys so very much for that. It's just incredible to see the growth here. Also, and you guys will see it most likely by next episode. Thank you very much to Nick Camia or Extra Cooler on X and Instagram, who is he has his own podcast, the Extra Cooler Podcast. He's a massive wrestling fan. He has a wrestling show, but he's also he's a digital artist. In any branding that you see on this show comes from him. And he just did one that's gonna just blow everybody's friggin' socks off. That will be debuting here next week. If you guys follow the Hot Tag Podcast on Instagram or follow me on Facebook, you've probably have already seen the logo. But we will be sharing that live on next week's show when we cover Night of Champions 2023. But let me just talk about tonight's show.
Chris, I just subscribed, by the way.
Oh, thank you. It's been so long, and you
I realized
Finally.
I wasn't subscribed to this channel.
Okay, so that's probably 540 now. So thank you very much. Okay, so tonight is a fun one. I'm really looking forward to this one. I mean, look, we don't get Dean to do anything much, but when he saw that we were talking about factions, it's a gang. Factions. It's factions, pal. People who get together to fight a cause.
Listen, I'm just working on my tricep extensions here, the French press.
Well, Dean's usually in for any top 10, any sort of countdown.
Any list, right?
That's right.
This man's got a list for his lists.
I have this.
He's the original Chris Jericho.
That's right.
And so tonight we are talking about our top 5 favorite factions for basically as long as we've been alive. Of course, I mean we weren't around in the early 80s, but I'm really looking forward to this one. There's no honorable mentions, there's no dishonorable mentions unless you guys want to do that. I didn't write any down. I just gave my top 5. So we'll go through. We're gonna run 5 through 1. We're gonna start with George on my right, and then Dean, and then myself. However, first, let's really just get to the real crux of this show. It's the wrestling news, according to George. It's your weekly segment. What's in your news, George?
Well, in my news, it's the same as anyone's news. Backlash was this weekend.
Can I make a bold statement, George?
Chris, make any statement you want, whether it's bold or the opposite of bold.
I believe Saturday's crowd was the best crowd in WWE history.
It was electric from the minute it started until it ended.
Yeah.
Those people were wild, which is funny because I'm seeing everyone's loving it. Then there was one of the guys I'm friends with on Facebook said, "He's like, oh, I hate this. I hope they never go over there again. The crowd is taking me out of the pay-per-view." And I'm like,
oh my God.
I don't even understand this, but whatever.
Tell him to go back and watch pay-per-views from 2019 and tell me what he thinks of crowds then.
Greatest ever in the history of wrestling. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Suffering succotash.
Bring back the infamous beach ball that Cesaro
Cesaro
destroyed.
kicked the shit out of
Right.
you.
What a time to
Go
be
ahead.
alive.
Sorry.
But yeah, Backlash was this weekend. Started at a solid 1 p.m., which was, hey, beneficial for us who like to go to bed early.
That's right. That's
I
right.
Which
have
isn't
to-
you. So what does that matter?
What's that?
Which isn't you. So what does that matter?
Yeah, well, I have a little bit of a sleep problem. It's understood, but still.
George is like, I gotta go to sleep, and then I wake up in the morning, and there's a text message from him from like 2 in the morning. I'm like, doesn't this
Dude,
guy
you know-
go to sleep?
I thought that way about Dean for the longest time. I'd wake up, it's like 7 o'clock, and I'm up with one of our, one or both of our kids, and I look at my text. I'm like, damn, Dean sent like this Zoe Saldana photo at like 5:34 a.m. I was like, what the hell is going on here?
Dean's on that Amazon wake up.
Yeah, well,
He is.
that's when I wake up for work. But I'm an early riser anyway.
Mhm.
I just so happen to go on Instagram right away. Find
while he's taking his morning constitutional
That's right.
and drinking a cup of
George.
coffee at the same time. But yeah, Backlash this weekend. I mean, it was only
George. I do that on company time. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
my mistake. Dean does not shit for free, everybody.
No.
Oh man.
My man gets paid.
Just like the song says. Fuck yeah, taking a shit on company time.
What a banger. The golden age of Motown. But yeah, Backlash this weekend. It was only 5 matches, which is kind of rare for pay-per-view. Usually pay-per-views are somewhere in between 8 and 10, 45 if it's WrestleMania, but yeah, we narrow it down. But it was a solid 5 matches though. I mean, there wasn't anything that was a real dud.
No.
I mean, yeah, the endings were predictable, but that didn't take anything away from the fact that they're really good matches.
Of course. Yeah. I agree with you. Totally.
Chris, you were over my house for the first half of the pay-per-view. Dean, you were there for the second half.
We tagged out.
Yeah, basically. Chris left and gave the hot tag to Dean, and he came in and we got Johnny Longhots.
Yep. And then Dean switched seats.
Yeah, as soon as I was like, I need that seat back.
It was calling him.
That's literally been my seat for like 6 years.
That's true.
Sorry, George, continue.
Yeah, I mean, apparently it was also the highest gate for was it an arena event in WWE history?
Yeah, and it was also the highest grossing SmackDown of all time.
Yeah, just breaking records. Left,
Such a
right,
dead
sideways.
company. What a dead brand.
In the mud.
Excuse me. The tide is turning. Thank you very much.
That's right. The tide's turning. I keep forgetting about that.
I guess.
Go ahead. And the other big news that came out of Backlash.
The debut, or I guess the re-debut, because I forgot he was in WWE at all. The debut of Tonga Loa, the brother to Tama Tonga, which is not a debut that I saw coming. Everyone I think was expecting Jacob Fatu, which I mean apparently he's still in the works. He's coming in eventually. I don't think they're going to bring him in yet. I think they're going to let this current incarnation of Bloodline Wolfpack, as we've been calling it, because they're wearing the black.
That's
and
right.
red.
That's right. I take credit for that.
And they seem cool, like the NWO Wolfpack. I mean, just no Kevin Nash or Lex Luger wrestling in black jeans. There he is. But I did not see this.
George, when was he in the company beforehand? Because I don't ever remember him being.
He was Camacho. He was tag team with Hunico. Yep, that might have been that stretch when you just didn't give a shit, or you were in the army.
Yeah. I don't even know who Hunico is.
Hunico was the guy Hunico was the better Sin Cara than Sin Cara.
Oh, right.
He's the guy that when he put on the Sin Cara mask, did all the stuff that regular Sin Cara was botching at. So.
Oh, right. The bitch. Yeah. Pekingese found a half dead on a park bench.
Yeah. And then we found out where WrestleMania 41 was going to take place.
Oof. And it's in Viva Las Vegas, baby.
It was kind of speculated that's where it was going to be, besides Minnesota. But I guess they were just like, we're not going to Minnesota. So
and I think another big surprise is the fact of how late in April WrestleMania is, April 19th and 20th.
Easter Sunday next year. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, they're smart. I mean, Nick Khan told us what was going to happen. They want to avoid March Madness as much as they can, and obviously the other postseasons are happening. But yeah, I think it was a very smart idea to go to late April. I have a feeling they're still going to tinker with those dates moving forward. I still think we're going to eventually see a WrestleMania happen in May. Also, what Triple H was talking about in another interview, I really hope that London gets consideration for a WrestleMania, because I think that would be, we thought France was a lot of fun to watch. I can't even imagine what a London or like, anywhere in England WrestleMania would look like.
Well,
It would be unreal.
It would be at Wembley. It's the biggest stadium.
It would be at Wembley. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure they'll smash records there.
I'm sure they would, smash some records.
We'll get the real numbers from crazy Uncle Dave. But I mean, now with how good that Backlash crowd was, and going back to last year with Backlash in Puerto Rico, how good that crowd was. These overseas crowds are just killing it.
Yeah,
it's insane.
It makes American crowds look bad.
Yeah, and then when they come back over here, I'm like, I am like ashamed of my
really.
You guys just don't even give a shit.
Did you guys see the memes? It was like, oh, now we got to go back to America and listen to stupid Americans chanting "what" for no reason at all.
Yes, I saw that. That was good, but it's crazy because they just appreciate it so much over there. And then when when you hear anything in America, it's like, dear God, like.
Yeah,
France just obliterates any American crowd for wrestling. I mean, I guess I understand because we get it 51 weeks a year or whatever. We get everything over here in America.
Sometimes 52 weeks a year.
Yeah, so
400 days a year.
So like the fact that they rarely go over there. I'm sure it'll be more often now. It's just wild. It was just so cool to see. I know another thing you wanted to bring up. We talked about it right in Gorilla before we hopped on here, George, and is the injuries right now.
Yeah,
injuries and time off. I mean, I went through the list with you. Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Rhea Ripley, CM Punk. These are like Raw's getting killed with that list.
Punk should be back soon, though.
He definitely should be. But man, that's a hell of a list of names to be not on TV every week right now.
It's basically, it's basically your main eventers.
It's your main,
Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it also shows maybe why the mid card is getting such a strong showcase on Monday Night Raw. Because I mean, they do have a strong mid card, and with the King of the Ring coming up, it gives them perfect opportunity to showcase what they can do.
Right.
Like
Dragunov
and Ricochet had a fucking banger last night on Raw for just a King of the Ring match.
Yeah, that was good stuff, man.
I'm telling you, if that finals comes on to Dragunov and Gunther, fuck.
Yeah,
I don't think Saudi Arabia will even be able to handle it.
And I doubt it.
Chris, I got a question for you real fast before we start.
Fire.
Do you think that with the tinkering of the dates of Mania possibly in May, could that eventually have them change their mind about open air stadiums on the East Coast?
I hope so. I mean, maybe that's why in their heads they're going to change it to May, because you and we've all talked about this. They shattered a WrestleMania record of income in Philadelphia. Yeah. I can't see them just not coming back to New York or Philly, or down south in Florida. Like, I can't see them just abandoning the Northeast, because one, let's all kind of remember here, regardless of Vince McMahon, it's a Northeast promotion. Yeah. It's just what this company was founded and built in the Northeast. Yeah. I don't know, man. I really hope if they push it to May, you should absolutely come back to Philadelphia or go back to MetLife. Why not? I mean, in May, God, I mean, today was 86 degrees. Like it. Yeah. If you push it to May, we should have no problems. I mean, realistically.
Well, I don't think it's going to go back to MetLife. There's a lot of talks that the Jets are getting a stadium in Queens, and it'll be a dome. So if that happens, it'll probably
it'll be back this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That would be nice.
MetLife is a dump,
It
and
is.
which is why the Jets are pushing to leave. So like they got stuff on the table. I'm not a Jets fan. I just watch a lot of stuff about stadiums. And they're like pushing to leave. Apparently, they're the city of New York wants to really develop that area around Citi Field. So that's where it would be at probably.
That'd be
out
beautiful.
There, so. Yeah, and it's gonna
Take, like, a boat
and
right
now
to the
it just
stadium.
seems like everybody's building domes now. The open air stadium is a thing of the past.
I agree. And I don't understand. We've talked about this for years. I can't believe Philadelphia, New York, Florida, they're not all domes. Like the weather here is so inconsistent and terrible a lot. Why not just make it easy and or a retractable roof?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I can understand some football stadiums, right? Because it's about the elements and stuff like that. But I think I was a big proponent of this for a while. I think all baseball stadiums should have a retractable roof at this point.
I agree. Totally agree.
Yeah, because
and
you
can
play
huge for wrestling.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And but then again, 20 years ago, the Phillies went the cheap way with our stadium. It took them 20 years to make that stadium actually like everything was a great seat, but there was nothing to do with the stadium for like 15 years. So.
Exactly. But I like I've said before, if we don't get WrestleMania, I definitely think we'll get Money in the Bank. We'll get SummerSlams. I would love to go to a SummerSlam at Citizens Bank Park or Link. That would be a lot of fun. But if they're not going to abandon Philly. I mean, it's literally probably one of their top 3 American markets in terms of clearly in terms of their gates and their popularity. So yeah, we'll definitely see. But I think if you push it to May, I really hope they reconsider their stance on the Northeast.
Same. I just might take a couple of years, but
it might take a few years, which is understandable. But
I mean, we waited 25 for it to come. We waited 25 years.
Yeah, we waited a long time.
We may have to wait another 25.
Yeah, we waited 20 years? Yeah, 25 because we waited 20 just to get into MetLife. Oh no, I'm sorry. They waited 14, right? 14 years before 29 in MetLife.
No, but they were at a.
MSG we knew that MSG in 20, yeah. But I meant like for the football stadiums. It took a long time and then finally came back around to Philly. So yeah, we'll see. Okay. George, you have anything else before we get the factions?
Let's get into factions, man.
All right, brother. Here we go. All right. Top 5 favorite factions of all time. It's funny in a way, and I'll say this out loud to everybody. Who I think are the top 5 factions of all time are actually my top 5. I didn't think about that until I was done doing my list. So here we go. We're going to start with George. George, you're number 5 in your favorite factions of all time.
And then this is what I was telling you, Chris. Like I initially made a list, and then I sent it to you, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, this looks more like if I was making a list of what I think are the greatest factions of all time. Right. I was like, let me actually go back and think to like reasons why I would watch the various wrestling promotions, for these factions, because, they obviously would draw eyes and be the reason why I would watch. Mm-hmm. So like my number 5, and for the times when I would watch TNA, I got the Beautiful People at my number 5. Angelina Love, Velvet Sky, Madison Rain. I mean, this was at a time when women's wrestling was a fucking joke. Mm-hmm. It was all like bra and panties matches. They were getting 2 minutes a night on Raw or SmackDown.
Titties.
And they were just, and it couldn't be taken seriously. But then here's this faction who's playing up to the fact that they are gorgeous and they're just going to beat up anyone who they think is ugly. Mm-hmm. But it got eyes, and they were really fucking good in the ring too. Mm-hmm. And maybe like TNA, maybe they were the benchmark for like how the women's wrestling has kind of gone, because they took women's wrestling seriously. Yeah. And that was, for the longest time, 2009,
I mean, that's when I kind of, it's weird how I really kind of found out about stuff that TNA were doing was when people kept saying about their women's division and how amazing it was. And I figured, and I started watching it a little bit. And I was like, damn, this was women's evolution before, like 10 years before, like 5,
Yeah.
6,
Well, they
7, 8
had
years before.
that Gail Kim and Mickey James had jumped ship, and
Yeah. Yep.
wasn't Victoria over there too?
Victoria was over
Victoria's
there.
over there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
So they had
They had a
they had
great,
some good workers.
for sure. Yeah.
ODB.
Yeah, she
ODB was
good.
fun. Yeah, she
Awesome
was
Khan
really
was
good.
good too.
Awesome. Yeah.
Um,
Before Awesome Khan came over to WWE, and they dropped the fucking ball on her as quick as could be. And she
Yeah.
was right at it again.
Well, didn't they find out she was pregnant when she got to
She
WWE?
got pregnant, but then I think like after she had the baby, they ended up like she came back for
Mm.
one thing and then she got fired because Vince.
Yeah. I never would have thought a women's faction would have been named in this list tonight, but there it is. But you're right, man. That was, like I said, that was women's evolution way before WWE thought it was a
great
thing.
women's faction. Like there isn't
For sure.
like not. I mean, like Damage Control may be like second to them, but they ain't even close. Like people were tuning in to Impact to see the beautiful people.
Mm-hmm. All right, Dean, you're number 5.
I'm going the Inner Circle, baby. Let's get some AEW on this list.
Soon it'll be learning tree.
Name 2 people.
No, I'm kidding.
Name 2 people from the Inner Circle.
I can name the whole. They can name the whole faction. It was Jericho, Sammy Guevara, Santana, and Ortiz.
You forgot Jake Hager. Some fan.
Oh yeah.
How dare
Don't worry.
you?
Everybody else did too.
The only faction that was ever good in AEW. But that's not my number 5. My number 5 is the Four Horsemen. I mean, they set
Which
the
version?
Well, my favorite version is Arn Anderson as the manager, Flair, Malenko, Mongo, and Benoit.
Wow. Okay.
That's a stout.
That's really good. I mean, I really enjoy the original version.
I mean, I love Arn in the ring, but that was a good one. Like Malenko was so good in the ring. Of course, Benoit. It is so good. And I'm the only person that liked Mongo as a wrestler, so he's always going to be on my Four Horsemen list, whatever version he was in, because he was in 2 or 3.
Did you like him because you thought he was a good wrestler, or did you like him because every time he got in the ring, you knew you were going to be entertained, whether it was shit or not?
Both. I just like Mongo. I liked him as a football player.
Funny.
I liked him when he showed up for WrestleMania 11 with the giant cowboy hat and talking the shit to Bam Bam Bigelow. And I liked him in WCW. I just thought he was great.
I liked him in WCW. I enjoyed his commentary too.
When he was on commentary, when he had like the little dog.
Oh, that was good.
Came out with Deborah and his Super Bowl ring and Letterman jacket. He was the shit, man. He was so cool.
He's going to start the Mongo McMichael fan club on the show, which is completely okay.
Damn right I am.
Like so, all right.
DJ get a Mongo jersey.
Tombstones for everybody.
So, my number 5 is.
That was his finisher. It was
I know.
Which is scary when you think about it.
Yeah, poor Mongo.
So my number 5 is, I think maybe in a couple years, in terms of the greatest factions of all time, they might be in the top 2 or 3. My number 5 is the Bloodline. What I like so much about the Bloodline is it's real. Like they're all family. Like it's so cool. And the fact that they've been able, and Dean actually said this first about a year ago, like they might be the only faction to go this long and be interesting since the beginning. Like they were always interesting. They always did good stuff. Now
it's even better.
And now it's gotten better. And then oh my God, right. When you add the Rock and like the intrigue now of damn, what's going to happen when Roman comes back? What's going to happen when the Rock shows back up? Like it's unbelievable what they've been able to do with this faction in a modern era. And everyone they keep adding is just another part of the family because it just never ends. But it's awesome. The fact that it literally changed the world's perception of Roman Reigns. It changed, not changed, but it was an add-on to an already insanely legendary career of Paul Heyman. So this faction, man, it's unreal. I mean, I really kind of want to say they're on that level of possibly being the greatest faction of all time, because the era that they're in right now is the most lucrative, the most watched globally. I mean, and I just don't want this to end. Like I rarely say I don't want something to end in pro wrestling. But every week I'm like, where are they taking this? Where is this going to go? And it's really cool to see. So my number 5 favorite faction of all time is the Bloodline, and that could definitely rise up the ranks. I want to see how this ends with The Rock and Roman. I really want to see where everything goes. But George, you're number 4.
My number 4, also the Bloodline.
Okay,
as is mine.
You just mentioned, yeah.
Nice.
I mean, it's they were the reason to watch SmackDown.
They were.
I wanted to see what the Bloodline was going to do, and even if Roman wasn't going to be there, it didn't matter. I was going to turn it on because Heyman was going to show up and cut a promo or have a backstage segment that was going to steal the show.
Mm-hmm.
Like you talked about Heyman's legendary career. I mean, it's still going. This Bloodline's still going. He's still in it. Now there's different levels to it.
Yep.
You know, it's Solo and Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa and Heyman, who just looks confused, like he doesn't know what's going on, but he's going along with it because he's part of the family, so he's the wise man.
Yep.
And the whole thing that now he was the reason why Roman was pulled from the draft, because he doesn't think Roman can handle this new bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so much more going on with it. It literally is like appointment TV, and it feels like now with them.
And again, I think the most important, I'll let you talk about your 4 right after this, Dean, is, again, I'll say it again. I think what has been so impactful about this group is, again, what it's done to Roman Reigns. Like we all wanted this guy so far gone 4 years ago. Like we just wanted him gone. Like I would even take a stab at this. It was levels worse than the level we felt disdain for John Cena for when he was being shoved down our throats.
Yeah.
I was so if I remember saying to a buddy of mine, like 4 or 5 right before he turned heel, when it wasn't a thing, we thought it wasn't a thing for Roman. I said, man, if Roman just left now like The Rock did and just went to Hollywood and never came back, I would be ecstatic.
Yeah.
Thank God him turning heel finally came to fruition, because, dude, like he's 1,300-day reign of world champion. He brought us in through the entire pandemic. He's headlined like 9 WrestleManias in a row. He's the modern day Hulk right now in terms of he's that guaranteed main event, and you want to every time he's on the screen, it's like, all right, well, I gotta watch because it's Roman Reigns right now. It's the Bloodline. It's incredible. Mm-hmm. Sorry, Dean.
No, I completely agree. And what have I been saying for the last 3 to 4 years when we were talking about, like, because George will try to watch weekly. And I'm like in and out on pay-per-views, right? And you've had your whole ups and downs of this really sucks, and it was kind of hitting you, you know what I mean? Like you were coming into like terms with the fact that wrestling sucks, but I would always say, like, well, the Bloodline is great.
Yes.
Like, the Bloodline is the only thing that's going on for the entire time. I was like, this is the only thing worth watching in WWE. And you said something really poignant just a minute ago. Like you didn't want it to end. Yeah. That's how I felt during Mania. When Roman came out night 2 and the orchestra was playing his music and he walked out with that belt, and I was just like, oh man, I'm not ready to see him lose his belt to Cody. Like I wasn't ready for it. I really wasn't ready for it. Like as much as I wanted Cody to win it, I was like, oh no, man, I'm not ready for this. I'm not like this is legend. Like he is so like this whole bloodline and the tribal chief, it like changed his career. Like you said, when he left to go fight leukemia during the pandemic, I was like, good riddance, dude. Don't ever come back. Like, don't die. I'm not saying that. Like, just be like, nope, just be done with wrestling because I'm over you. Like, I can't take it anymore. I can't take suffering succotash anymore and the big dog and all that stuff. I can't.
Oh my God, the big dog was the absolute pinnacle of my hatred.
I can't. I was like, I can't do this anymore, man. Like, I can't. But it changed on a dime when he went heel with the bloodline. And it's only going to get better because my theory is that The Rock is pulling the strings behind the scenes with Tonga Loa, and Solo. I think that's going to be his when they both come back. That's going to be his bloodline, and Roman is going to be faced with his original bloodline, and it's going to be. I hope it's War Games. That'd be awesome.
My God!
Or Survivor Series, one of the two. But
that's what that would be. Survivor Series War Games. Yeah. That would just be wild.
I think I've been pitched that to you, Dean. You have like the Rock's bloodline, and then Roman's, and obviously Roman's fourth person will probably be Jacob Fatu if Jacob Fatu. When Jacob Fatu shows up,
I think with Tom Lowe coming in now, and him siding with Tama Tonga and stuff like that, and they're going to be the heels. I think Fatu is going to be absolutely with Roman and the Usos.
Yeah,
I just have one more thing. I got like one more thing on the bloodline here, just real quick. It's like whenever like it would seem like the bloodline was getting stale, something else would happen and reel you back in. Like with Sami Zayn. Sami being in the bloodline shot his ass straight to the fucking top.
Yeah.
Like the whole feeling Lucy, it was
you're right.
It was wild.
I'm really happy. And I questioned the booking when it happened at WrestleMania 39. And I thought, man, why would you build Cody up so much for him only to lose? My God, am I happy that ended up how it ended up, because you got a whole nother year, and then you ended up with the friggin' final boss, like my favorite version of The Rock ever, that comes back and just from January to WrestleMania through WrestleMania, holy crap. It was just unbelievable. It literally rejuvenized.
It was must-see TV. It was must-see TV.
Yep. And The Rock wasn't lying. Him coming back, and then him with Roman, him with the bloodline, it legitimately made wrestling cool again. It made it so much fun. It ended an era that most of us hated, and it ushered in an era that we've been wanting. We don't want the Attitude Era. What I want is a mixture of, the Ruthless Aggression era, maybe mixed with a little bit of Attitude. Not like I don't
on top.
Like a little bit of a sprinkle, but give me the Ruthless Aggression era storytelling and the talent that they have on those rosters, and just sprinkle in a little bit of Attitude. That's it. Yeah. I'm not asking for chair shots. I'm not asking for titties and all that stuff. I'm not asking for choppy PP.
No. We're all asking for choppy.
I want the storytelling back. I want to be able to watch Raw and SmackDown and invest in the stories, invest in the characters, like the ride that the Great One took us on from Royal Rumble through WrestleMania. I mean, that was just so amazing to watch and be part of.
My last thing on the bloodline, somehow, I don't know how they're going to do it, or if they're going to do it. I want Roman to be champ again, and that would be great to say, because we all wanted him to lose. Even fans of Roman was like, it's time. Put the belt on Cody, the belt to be on TV and stuff. I kind of like that.
I miss Roman as champ. I really do.
The tribal chief has to have the belt. He has to have the belt. It's just that character works with the title. But given the World Heavyweight title, I hate to say it, but
do you think he's Hogan in a way now, where when he's gone, it's like, man, I really can't wait for him to get back, and hopefully it's like, I just thought of this just now. I feel like the situation we're in right this second, right now, is Mega Powers, or the era of when Hulk was going away for a while, so they strapped the Rocket to Macho. But when you realize, few months into Macho, it's like, I really kind of can't wait for Hulk to get back and get that strap back on him. I almost and it's nothing against Cody, but when you have the dude that was a heel, he was just perfect for 3-4 years as your champion, and he just gave us what he gave us. You kind of look at Cody Rhodes, myself, this is just me. I personally just look at Cody as he's like that Macho where, all right, cool, I'll give him to SummerSlam. We'll give him some months, maybe give him till Survivor Series. But man, I would really like to see Roman come back and get back on top of that mountain. Do you guys, George, do you feel that way? Or are you like, yeah, let's, we just got done 1,300 days. I like a long-term champion.
I mean, the way everything's been going, I mean, I like having Cody as champ. I think it's time, look good for him. Extremely well
Yeah.
deserved.
Mhm.
But there'd be a time where I'm like, nah, like he doesn't need it. But at the same time, it's like, maybe I kind of do. But you can do it, and you can weave it into the story that's already going
Yeah.
on with the bloodline. Like I was sitting in my room the other day, just like piecing things together of how everything could play out into WrestleMania.
Mhm.
Like, with just like The Rock taking full control of this new bloodline,
Right.
maybe throwing his power around a little bit since he's on the board of TKO,
Yeah.
and then just having The Rock like politic his way into having a
Well,
match with Cody for
Yeah.
the title at SummerSlam, and having The Rock beat Cody and take the belt.
Well,
Then just having The Rock run roughshod with his group, which would kind of force Triple H, since he's the COO, to step in and be like, hey, you can't be throwing your power around. This is, I'm running the show, so Triple H goes and gets Roman and the other bloodline to fight off this one. So you got a bit of a power struggle. You got bloodline. And then maybe Cody gets that belt back at Royal Rumble with Roman screwing The Rock. And then that leads to Rock Roman at WrestleMania, because that doesn't really need the belt as far as I'm concerned.
Rock is politicking his way to, showing up 4 hours late to WrestleMania rehearsals. Allegedly.
He pisses in bottles. Good for him.
It has other people take the bottles.
You guys haven't peed in a bottle before.
Well, I mean, I've never had a servant come and take it from me.
You're
dispose of it.
Not with that attitude.
That's right. You know what? It's funny. I heard Undertaker on his show talk about, what he preferred. He didn't really prefer to be champion, because he said he enjoyed the chase way significantly more. And I feel like I like Cody Rhodes a lot better as the babyface chasing the heel champion. And I've always been that way for some reason. I've always liked a heel champion because that's a babyface. He's got to overcome obstacles to get to that badass heel who's willing to cheat and do whatever it takes to keep his title, like, form a faction to protect him always. I think that's how I feel about Cody Rhodes. When his title run is over, I think I might feel like, you know what? It was deserved. He was really good. He was a fighting champion, but boy, I think I really like him more as a babyface chasing the heel champion. I think that's how I might feel.
That's how I feel about Seth, honestly. Like, unless Seth is going to be a heel and be the champ as a heel because he's so good at that. If he's going to be a babyface, I don't like him as a champ. He's really good chasing as a babyface.
For sure.
If he's like the architect, put that job on him in a heartbeat.
Oh my God. If this is Rollins, like circa 2015, 2016, strap the rocket to him, because as a heel like that, I'm all in for that.
Yeah. But if he's cackling and wearing capris and all this other stuff, just have him do that, because he doesn't need the belt either. Like, he doesn't need the belt if he's doing that stuff. So
no, I agree. All right. My number 4, we're at 4, ladies and gentlemen. My number 4 is the Shield. And I look at this as it was an amazing creation. And we got, 2 of who will end up being maybe top 5, top 7 of the greatest of all time out of that group. When you got Roman and Seth.
Dean Ambrose and Jon Moxley.
Oh, that's so good. But I was such a fan of the Shield because it was in an era where there was just so much terrible shit on television every single week. And I just thought, man, this is the only thing good right now. Because at the time, you're talking 2014, 2015, John Cena is still being, he's being run down our throats. What was so cool about 2014 and 15 is also you had the up and coming Wyatt family, who eventually went head to head with the Shield and one of the best, crowd reactions to a pay-per-view. I think it was Elimination Chamber maybe, but it was just in an unbelievable like rivalry between those two factions. And then, the 2 matches they had with Evolution was a lot of fun. But I just thought the Shield was a really cool concept. It worked. I still think to this day, Dean Ambrose was the weakest link of that. But look, the fact that you can have a faction and 2 of the 3 guys are, one of them is probably going to end up maybe as a Mount Rushmore guy in Roman Reigns. And the other one is this generation's Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, but probably better in ring wise. That's amazing to me. And so I appreciate the Shield so
Dean
much
Ambrose.
because I appreciate the Shield so much because I look back and it was just a really tough time in wrestling where not many things were doing well. And it was just like prime uncreative Vince McMahon, but the Shield worked for me. So I appreciate that.
It gave us Dean Ambrose dressing up as Bane, like
That's right.
10 years after The Dark Knight Rises came out.
Yeah.
For some reason, he was wearing a gas mask and a big puffy jacket to the ring. I don't know why.
Thanks, Vince.
Yeah, thanks, Vince.
It's probably because Vince had just saw that movie for the first time, and he's like, "Hey, that's a great gimmick, pal."
You mean like when Sting did Joker Sting like 5 years after The Dark Knight? It's like, did you just see this movie, Sting?
Well, that's why Vince loved the Razor Ramon gimmick so much, because he never saw Scarface. So he thought Scott Hall was a genius.
That's true.
The best gimmick I've ever seen.
George, you're number 3.
My number 3, I have it as a tie because I feel like you can't really have one without the other.
Okay.
And it's the Corporation and the Ministry of Darkness.
Yeah, it was
like
your list just continued to shock me. It was awesome.
When I go back and I watch old episodes of Raw, if I'm feeling in the mood, let me watch something from the Attitude Era. I always kind of end up going back to 1999 because of how much I liked the Corporation and the Ministry of Darkness, like fighting against each other. Then eventually the corporate ministry, which was just kind of weird, with Triple H with his like purple shirt and cross necklace to show that he was ministry.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that worked.
God, that was so funny.
And it was one of those things where it's like, Austin is your champion, but I want to see like how Taker is fucking with Vince this week. Like, where's this going to go? I mean, they gave us an Inferno match on Monday Night Raw for free.
Yeah, when he burned the teddy bear.
Yeah, when he burned the teddy bear and Vince is crying in a heap on the ground.
It was great.
Like,
it really was.
Wailing. I mean, like, the people in those, I mean, like, yeah, Midian and Viscera and, like, Boss Man. Like, yeah, like, they're, like, easily kind of forgettable in that time. But the factions were, like, it was, like, every other segment, there was something with the Corporation, something with the ministry. Like, Austin's a champion. You're really not even thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just great. It was, to me, it's just,
I also liked that
Undertaker,
too. That was cool.
Ministry Taker was my favorite Undertaker.
Ministry Taker had a badass theme song.
Yes.
Really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
That was a really good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Dean, you're number 3.
I had to go with DX. But you know, I guess I would do all 3 incarnations of DX, like the main ones, right? You had the original version, and then you had the Triple H led one, and then you had the Reformation in 07.
Yeah.
Which is really underrated.
Oh, I love the Reformation in 06.
I think a lot of people look past it because it was a little hokey, kind of campy, but then
that was what was so great about it.
Yeah, that's what I liked about it. I liked it was kind of like cheesy.
Yeah,
and they were goofballs. You know what I mean?
It was 40-year-olds. It was 40-year-olds trying to be sophomoric.
Yeah.
It was extremely tongue in cheek.
Yes,
but I love DX. I mean, come on, who has not gone through their entire life telling somebody to suck it?
Exactly.
You know, doing the chop,
still
and
do
stuff like that.
Still
do.
Yeah. Watch Sixers games. You'll see Joel Embiid do it nightly.
Well, I
can't watch him anymore.
You know, I mean, not this year, but you can see it when they come back in October.
Yeah, sure. Give me Jimmy Butler and I'll watch him.
Right.
But I mean, DX was great. You know, obviously it wasn't great when Triple H left and Road Dogg tried to be the leader for a week, and then it just imploded. But or whatever that was he kicked out Road Dogg or something like that? And then I don't remember. Whatever. Of course, yeah.
I'll save us all the embarrassment and just not even bother talking about it. It was just whittled down to just Road Dogg and X-Pac and like DX. It's like, no,
that's
not
what I was
right.
thinking of. That's what I was thinking of.
because Mr. Ass left because he won the King of the Ring and became King Ass.
Yeah,
King Ass.
yeah.
And the one Billy Gunn.
And then the one Billy Gunn because
with the Sammy
White
Hagar
Stencil.
music,
Yeah.
with Sammy Hagar song,
the not Sammy Hagar song. No, but I mean, it's DX. They were awesome. They were the perfect yin to the NWO's yang.
Yeah.
Because they were different.
They were the answer.
Yeah. So, and then I still think the best version is the Michaels Triple H original one.
So do I.
With the little bit of Rick Rude and then China. That was it. That was perfect. That was so good. That's the classic DX. Like when they got the face shields on with the wipers talking to Slaughter. It's so good. It's so good.
Just bullying Michael Cole to the verge of suicide.
So my number 3 is, again, I think this can also be argued as the greatest faction of all time, is Evolution. Fuck, they were so great. I mean, let's just go over real quick the members of Evolution. Triple H, trash. Randy Orton, where would he go? Batista, what has he done? And the Nature Boy, Ric Flair.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of any of these guys.
Who the hell is Ric Flair? I don't even know who that is.
He gets kicked out of Chili's restaurants.
You mean that drunk guy down in North Carolina who's swinging his dick around? Whatever, man. I guess.
Didn't Ric Flair just ruin a blind woman's face the other day?
That's correct.
Yeah.
He said, "Woo, Evolution is a place to be."
Woo wings.
Woo energy.
And then the burner pills he's selling out too.
Oh God.
I try his energy drink though. I'm a sucker for a good energy drink.
Oh God. Well, can't wait for you to drop dead. You'll have a heart attack in the middle of your work shift like he did in his last match.
I'll appear in a wrestling ring and I'll have a heart attack.
Your opponent will be Tom Zink.
Dean's gonna show up to work after drinking Woo Energy and blade his face off.
But he's also gonna be bleach blonde too.
He is.
It's gonna be really weird.
And I'll be climbing on top of things and not being able to jump off, and somebody will just be throwing me off at random.
He's gonna grab a microphone and tell every person in there that he hates all of their fathers.
He already
with
does.
A tear in my eye.
Oh, it's so good. So yeah, Evolution is my number 3. I think it could be argued that they're the most, I don't want to say impactful, but when you start a group, the whole point of a faction usually is to generate single stars. That's the point of a faction. You put 3 guys, younger guys together, or, with a big leader, like, let's just say like the Brood. In the very beginning, Michael P.S. Hayes was tasked with getting over the Hardy Boys. And the Hardy Boys have always said, like, Michael P.S. Hayes was a really big deal for them. Same thing with Gangrel, with Edge and Christian. You develop a faction to get single stars out of it. So when you look at Evolution, I'm not sure you can top what came out of that. I mean, Triple H was still in his prime. I still think
prime Triple H.
I get real butthurt when people bring up that era Triple H and say, "Oh, it's the Reign of Terror." Dude, that to me was when Triple H became the greatest heel of all time. One of. I mean, I think he's 1B to NWO's Hogan, who's 1A. So, and then you create Dave Batista and you create Randy Orton. And then you kind of like rejuvenize the career of Ric Flair in a way. But holy cow, man. Like, what a track record that faction that's come out of that. The one guy runs the wrestling world now. Another guy is the best actor to ever come out of pro wrestling. And then you have Randy Orton, who literally is considered one of the greatest of all time, still going at a tippy top level. So honestly, guys, like, it's really hard to argue with someone if they came to me and said, hands down, Evolution is the greatest faction of all time. Because I would say, you know what? You might be right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no denying it. I mean, and we always say this, like, your face is really only as good as your as your heel. And there was no bigger heel in that era than fucking Evolution. To the point that when Randy Orton turned face, it didn't work.
Right.
Because Evolution was so good as heels that the second, like, it worked for Batista because of how Batista became a face.
Right.
When Orton did it, it was like, you know what, we got Orton, we're gonna shot the rocket to him, he's gonna go. And it, unfortunately for him, his first title run is extremely forgettable.
Yeah.
But you can't deny how great Evolution was. I mean, they're not my favorite. I mean, I don't have them on my list, but I'm not going to deny the fact that they are probably the greatest faction of all time.
Yeah. All right, you're number 3, George.
My number 3.
I'm sorry.
My number 2.
Number 2. I'm sorry. Number 2.
My number 2 is
what was your 3, Chris? Evolution. Right?
Evolution.
Yeah.
That's how it's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
My number 2 is DX.
So is mine, the original DX.
We've all talked. I mean,
yeah.
For me, I love all incarnations of DX. I love that original. That's kind of what got me turning the channel from the other place. And I was like, oh, I mean, I love Shawn Michaels, but let me see what's going on. And I'm looking, I'm like, he's saying a lot of shit. I'm not sure if he's supposed to be saying that. They're kind of like pulling the veil back and really exposing a little bit of what we were
that
never
thin line, what's real and what's not.
Exactly. It's like I don't know how much of this, even going into school the next day, we're like, yo, he shouldn't have been saying that.
Yeah, it's like that famous line. It's like, man, I know this stuff's not real, but that really kind of sounded like that was a shoot. Anything that they did, yeah.
And even when Michaels left with his was back in '98 and Triple H took the reins, they added in the New Age Outlaws. X-Pac had jumped ship from WCW over. Well, I mean, he got fired from WCW, but he still jumped ship. And they were heels, and then they just naturally turned face.
Yeah.
And they went and took an army tank and stormed the stadium where Nitro was being held that night. Like this, they were doing shit that you never thought that they could even do on TV.
Yeah,
I mean, aside from the blackface when you're doing the Nation of Domination,
that wasn't the best idea.
Well, in '98, we all laughed. In 2024, we're like, you'd get canceled for that now.
I still laugh. I don't care.
I mean, I even told you, Chris. I love when they mocked the corporation also. They had Jason Sensation come out as Shawn Michaels with a basketball, and they dropped it. Oh no, HBK, you dropped the ball again. And when they reformed in 2006, that was and there were seeds that were planted. Like Shawn did the crotch chop at WrestleMania that year. Triple H did it. We're like, yo, what the fuck?
Yep.
And then they reformed, and it was just magic.
Yeah. In June of 2006, man, in Penn State, I'll never forget, in State College. That was unbelievable. But yeah, so because my number 2 is DX, I'll just piggyback off what you're saying. My favorite version of DX is the originals. It's Shawn, Hunter, and I just say China. I don't really say Rick Rude. I mean, but I mentioned him because he was a part of it. And he was involved, even in the storyline with Hellenist. Me too. I do too. Yeah.
I wish he had a good chip.
I
mean, he would have died anyway, but I think he worked better with being like the financier kind of guy for DX.
The insurance policy.
Yeah.
And I loved it because I was a WWF guy through and through, still am. And I'm sitting here and I watched Shawn Michaels. So I mean, I was always WWF because of Shawn Michaels. And I'm sitting here like I would watch WCW periodically, and I'm like, man, the NWO is just so friggin' badass. They're so cool to watch, and I hate this because it's 1996, and I'm watching Duke the Dumpster Droese on Monday Night Raw, or
Main event on Monday Night Raw,
or I'm watching like Mantar on WWE, and I'm just thinking, what the hell? And then you could see the seeds being planted of Michaels turning heel in 97. And I just thought, damn, dude, like it's, everyone talks about who started the Attitude Era. It was no doubt about it. DX started the Attitude Era. They were doing shit on TV that no one had ever done before, ever. And even more so, even more pushing the envelope than the NWO ever did. They were just getting away, like the presidential speech that they
Man,
did on
that's-
live
that- that's
television.
Great fucking
That was a
segment.
direct response to the USA Network telling them they couldn't do this, this, and this. And then they go on air, and what they did they would go out in the ring during Christmas time with a thong on and literally like basically nude and cut sausages off, have strip poker live in the middle of the ring. Like that was Attitude Era before the Attitude Era. So, and it was just awesome. I didn't like
They aired the curtain call footage.
They aired the curtain call. Hey, you're a good guy.
What?
I was a bad guy.
We're not supposed to be friends.
Right? So, and I didn't like, or I didn't dislike, I didn't really pay attention or care about the second incarnation of DX when Michaels got hurt, because at that point I was just so wrapped up in like The Rock, Steve Austin, that, I was like, you know what, Shawn Michaels is going. I kind of don't care what Triple H does with DX. I like Triple H a lot. So I didn't really care about the next form of DX. But that 06 return was just amazing. And a lot of so much fun stuff came out of that. I got to see them live like 3 or 4 times, especially, Survivor Series 06. Like there were so many events I got to go see them live as DX, and it was like, wow, I never got that before. It's so cool that I get it now. So yeah, DX would be my number 2, but only the versions that involve Shawn Michaels. So that's where I rank number 2, because I just feel like if NWO was 1, obviously, then DX has to be number 2, because they were the answer to the NWO. They really helped. They were the spark that the WWF needed to get to not go out of business. DX helped lead the WWF into what Austin was just going to pick up and take over. Without DX, you don't pave the way for Stone Cold to completely take over the Attitude Era, because you needed Shawn Michaels and you needed Mike Tyson to get into that Austin era. So I think that was a really, really big deal. And sometimes I believe when people watch things on the network or they see historical things, they forget DX's place in WWF winning the war. They were the cogs, and then the machine spun. They handed the baton over to Austin, and he took it to levels, unseen. But yeah, DX,
Chris,
the originals.
You just said something that made me think about it. Look, I love the Triple H led version of DX. But I will say, it just made me think about it. Without Michaels, it felt kind of mid-Carter-ish. Like they were just a mid-card faction. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because I think a lot of people forget that while Austin and Rock were feuding in the main event, Triple H is still in the mid-cards. Slouching around with Road Dogg. You know what I mean? Like, so as much as I love that version of DX, and that was the main DX for the Attitude Era, really. If you think about
for
it.
Sure. Hey, we got purple pants Triple H out of it.
And red pants Triple H.
And red pants.
That's right. And red pants.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Should have made that my attire for today.
I couldn't find a good picture of it.
No takesy backsies.
I tried. But they definitely felt a little mid-carders with that Shawn.
So who was your number 2, Dean?
The NWO.
Oh, the NWO is number 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And I'm going to preface by saying NWO 2000 Silver and Black.
Oh, we're done. Good night, everybody.
Oh, that's great.
For me, it's that original incarnation.
Absolutely.
Not when the B team with Buff Bagwell and Scott Norton, like Scott Norton and Booker T and stuff like that are in. It's that original 3 with like Bischoff and maybe
X-Pac.
Big Show. I'll give you like
I'll give you like that original 6 pretty much.
Yeah. I'll give you that. DX is my number 1. Chris, I'm sure DX is probably, or no, not DX. The NWO is my number 1.
It's my number 1. Yeah,
it's your number 1 also. So might as well just get it off the table with all of us. But they were cool. It was the coolest.
They revolutionized wrestling.
Like, dude,
was the
imagine all of
coolest
us.
fucking thing.
Imagine all of us at 10 years old, 10, 11, 12 years old, right? And all we knew was yellow, red and yellow. That's how we were introduced to wrestling. That's how we fell in love with wrestling. It's okay for every one of you that are our age. Just fucking say it. You're into wrestling because of the red and yellow. You're into it because of Hulk Hogan. So, and then imagine 1996, the whole world flips upside down and the dude becomes a heel and joins the NWO. And it's like, oh my God. Like, you're thinking he's destroyed us. Like, he turned his back on everything. And it was great.
I loved it.
And then, like, every single week, it was like, I want to watch I just want to watch Nitro until, to see Hogan in the NWO, and then I'll turn it off.
Yeah.
And then you get like into 97 with the whole, actually like late 96 and all of 97, you have the whole thing with Sting in the NWO. It's like, holy God, this dude was on top of the world, basically he did make wrestling a global juggernaut. He goes to WCW and becomes the greatest heel to ever live with a new faction.
And almost puts WF out of business.
And almost puts Vince out of business.
Closest anybody ever came.
So cool, man. Yeah, I love talking about it because it's like, it's unprecedented. It'll never, ever happen again.
Well, also like for for us,
don't get them started.
For who would for
no, I really don't want to.
I'm ignoring any of it. There's no need. They haven't done anything newsworthy. There's no point in talking about it.
No, first, George. I like to make Chris laugh. That's why I said things like, "You sure about that?" He's the one that drugged you into it.
yeah. I was perfectly content to ignoring it, but
I know.
For us watching wrestling in the '90s, it was always like flipping back and forth between the channels. You went from USA, you went to TNT, you watched Monday Night Raw, you watched Monday Nitro. But then,
what a time to be alive.
But then, you're watching Nitro, before Raw kicks on, and all of a sudden you see Razor Ramon just walk into the fucking ring from the crowd. You're like, whoa, what's he doing here? And then Diesel shows up. And then, these guys work for the company. And then the fucking $1 Million Man shows up. The 1, 2, 3 Kid. It felt like a legitimate invasion.
Yeah.
We didn't know anything about contracts.
We didn't know anything.
Like, kayfabe was alive and well, and we didn't even care. It was beautiful. We're like, oh shit! Like, these guys really left the other company.
Yeah.
And the casual mentions, like, they shout out to Shawn Michaels all the time. We're like, oh shit, is Shawn Michaels gonna jump? You wanted to because you didn't know what was gonna happen.
Mabel or Bret Hart gonna jump?
Well, if you read somebody, he tell you. If you read
Mabel
the Observer, he'd say
man.
Mabel was the third man.
Wait, who said that?
Who do you think?
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, he reported that Mabel was the third man. What an idiot!
I mean,
imagine had those guys been able to get Shawn over, or the Undertaker. Like, there's always that rumor. I don't know how true that story is.
Yeah,
but there's that rumor that they almost had Taker jump ship. Could you imagine?
That would have been wild. I don't think any of it would have worked.
We would have gotten out of shape, snake pant wearing Taker 3 years before it happened.
That's right.
But snake pant Takers because he lost his tights and had to wear the Godfathers.
I know, but they looked awful because I saw a picture of it today. Now, when I found that picture of him wearing the black and red, the next picture I scrolled up, I was like, "Oh my God, I forgot about those pants." It's so
from Survivor Series 2000.
They're so bad looking.
But you're right, George. Like, it was a foundational, like, earthquake for wrestling when that all happened. And and I will also say this, before there was a Mr. McMahon character, Eric Bischoff was the first to do it. Eric Bischoff was the first guy who was publicly known to be running the company. Go on screen as a character and be an incredible. There was points where I felt like the guy who got the most heat in the entire industry was Eric Bischoff.
Yeah.
And it was, again, a guy that doesn't get enough credit. Again, I think DX was an answer to NWO. Mr. McMahon was a direct answer to Eric Bischoff's heel character. Everything just played into the other. It's just that WWF was able to push the envelope more, and they just did it better on a week-to-week basis. That's it.
And I heard Bischoff recently talking about the NWO and the decision for him to become an on-screen character in the NWO. He's like, it just made sense because there were all these questions. If say it's go, how is NWO getting in the arena if there's security around? If they're banned, how are they getting in?
Mhm.
Well, it makes sense that the guy running the company is letting them in, so it all makes sense. And the NWO was so good as heels that they took generational heels in Ric Flair and Roddy Piper and naturally turned them face.
Yeah, you're right. Yep. And I will say, as much
that's how Bret Hart won the belt.
Yeah, you're right.
Randomly laid on top of Goldberg.
Yeah, Piper. I mean, Piper got that pinfall victory over Goldberg, and Bret won the belt. What a time to be alive!
It is crazy because I feel like not only are they the best faction of all time, they it's also like just the worst because of what happened. As much as sometimes we laugh and talk about the Wolf Pack, I hated it. And I'm just like you're beating a dead horse with different colors.
I liked it at the time.
I loved it.
Yeah, but I look back at it now and go, it's stupid because I hated
that entrance theme was fucking prime.
Yeah, it was.
I hated Macho Man in NWO altogether.
Yeah.
I did not like Sting in the NWO. He's the WCW guy.
Yeah.
I always felt that Macho Man should have been teamed up with DDP and Sting, and those should have been the guys. Or if you weren't going to use the Horsemen to take out the NWO,
right?
It should have been those three guys to take out the NWO. Or as much as I disliked Macho Man in the NWO, he would fit perfectly in the black and white because he's an ex-WWF guy, and he was only in it for like a hot second.
Yep.
And then he got kicked out, and then he went to the Wolfpack. So
yes.
It's like they knew how to get.
No, Mach was in for like a full year because he jumped in like Super Brawl '97. That was when he screwed Piper in favor of Hogan.
Was it a full year that he was in?
Yeah, because that was what led to his rivalry with DDP.
Oh, crazy!
Because that was NWO Mach.
We're gonna talk. We're gonna have
a little bit. He feuded with DDP a little bit before NWO formed too.
A little bit.
That was like his first feud when he came over to the company, and then he reignited with Flair again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this summer we're gonna have a couple like NWO centric shows to kind of celebrate the NWO.
Sin, Greed. I can't wait.
Yep.
They weren't part of it.
I do want to have a show where we talk about the WCW video games. That would be a lot of fun.
Oh that'd be more fun than playing
that.
Nitro and Thunder. I can't wait.
Oh my god, and Mayhem.
Backstage Assault.
God. But
time to party, guys.
We will definitely watch WCW NWO World Tour, which was awesome. But yeah, we're gonna talk about those games also. Oh my god, Revenge was so good. All right, so Dean, you're number one.
It should be no surprise to anybody. It's Evolution.
Yeah,
I've talked ad nauseum. I've talked ad nauseum that I think Evolution. Not only do I think Evolution is the greatest faction ever, it's my favorite faction because it was a modernized version of the Horsemen.
Yeah.
But like better. You know what I mean? And just Chris, like you had mentioned, what spawned out of Evolution will never be topped. Right? You know what I mean? Like you can make I didn't like the Shield. I wasn't a big fan of the Shield, but what Reigns, like now I'll agree with you that what's come out of the Shield, because like Reigns as the big dog, like you're never agreeing. I'm never going to agree with you that the Shield was anything then. Reigns now is the tribal chief. I'll be like, okay, it birthed Reigns and Rollins and they're like, they're phenomenal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but Orton's career, I mean, all those guys, Flair, 16 time, recognized 16-time world champion.
It's like Triple 50 world titles between them.
Yes, exactly. It's probably like 60 because they're all. Yes. Well, I don't know. No, I'm sorry. Batista's only like a six time, I think. But still, you got Triple H and Orton are 14, 15-time champs.
Yep.
And all the other belts they've held too. And Orton's still going, right? Flair's doing whatever, ruining blind women's faces,
getting kicked out of restaurants.
Yeah, and Batista is, I think Batista is one of the most underrated professional wrestlers of all time. I think he's so overlooked.
God, I love Batista.
Disgusting. Yeah. So do I.
Yeah.
So do I. Yeah. He's one of my all-time favorites.
Again, it's because, and we're going to talk about the Ruthless Aggression era at length throughout the rest of the year. Dude, like, again, we talk about this all the time. he was lumped into the single greatest and deepest roster in wrestling history. He was in that same era as Michaels, Triple H, Undertaker, Randy Orton, Flair, Jericho, Benoit, like just name after name, legend after legend. Man, it's so hard to Edge. Like, it's so hard to like separate yourself. But I think now people are able to look back and go, God, man, the Animal Batista was such a badass character and a main event star. Since the day he got into Evolution, he was a main eventer. And it was like, man, he was just so fun to watch. And I'll go back often and watch Batista stuff.
Yeah, I'm a huge Batista fan. I'll defend that guy to the end of their he was awesome. I was a big fan. So do some conventions, Dave.
All right, so that's our top 5, our top 5 favorite factions of all time. Just to give everybody a quick update of what's ahead. Next week we'll be covering Night of Champions 2023, then Money in the Bank 2019, and then we'll end May with Extreme Rules from 2014. Going into June, our top 10 favorite wrestlers of all time, Hell in a Cell 2022, Great American Bash 1997, and then still figuring out the rest of June. And I'm probably going to start working on, probably tonight, the rest of the summer. And we'll see.
Get some good
what
old
shapes up.
2019 WWE in there with some dog food and Big Dog and Suffer and Succotash and all the other crap.
We're going to get it all.
And give me, you know what? And give me a Rusev, Dolph Ziggler, Lana love triangle. Just
you got it.
Carry on
right
top,
up.
man.
Coming right up.
Can we review Lana and Bobby Lashley making out on the stage, and then
we will get to that.
And then Rusev's like, "What's going on?" And then they do it again, and then they stop, and then they do it, and it just keeps going because Vince is getting his jollies rogered.
And Orton laughing his ass off on stage watching it happen.
Yeah,
exactly.
Just breaking character because he's like, this company's going out of business.
Just terrible.
I'm jumping ship because the tide's turning.
He jumps to TNA though.
That's right. Okay, yeah.
He
so much
would have about 15 years ago when he failed the second drug test and they were thinking about firing him.
Yeah. Now they just look the other way on that thing with him.
So much coming out down the pike. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe to the channel. We're at 540 subscribers as of this second. Thank you, Dean, for being number 540. So again, and also ring that bell for notifications. We're also live on the Ring the Bell Philly Sports Network. Like and subscribe and ring that bell also for notifications on when we go live there. At the Hot Tag Podcast on Instagram. Anything. And then next week you'll see some brand new branding and logos that are going to be part of the show weekly. We want to make things fresh as much as possible to get you guys, just part of this. I can't wait to unveil this logo and branding to everybody. You'll see this one week, the other one another week. It's going to be all over the place, and it's just going to be, visually just a lot of fun to keep changing things up for you guys. Again, next week, Night of Champions 2023. Dean, George is here every week. You're not, so you're part of the Multiverse Movie Podcast. What do you guys got coming up?
This week we're doing The Crow.
Yeah.
Wow.
We had to pull an audible. The Crow was actually supposed to be next week to coincide with its 30th anniversary of its release, but circumstances being what they are, and if you want to hear Dean and I continuously voice our endless frustrations with streaming services, you can listen on Multiverse Movie Podcast.
That's going to be great. Can't wait.
The initial movie that we were going to review is not streaming, and unfortunately neither of us own it. So, and it's also not even available on demand unless you want to pay for it that way.
That's hilarious.
Just to let everybody know, it's E.T.
It's fucking E.T.
How is E.T. not streaming on anything?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You guys were supposed to do E.T., but how is that nowhere in the world to watch?
So now basically E.T. is just kind of limbo because we still want to do it this year. So like it feels like everything's being moved up until it fucking shows up on streaming, or until one of us goes out and gets it. But good luck finding physical media anywhere. You know what? I'm not going to get into it.
Yeah. Save it for your show, your other one, right?
I'll save it for the Multiverse. Sling ring. I'm out of here.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching us. This has been the Hot Tag Wrestling Show, and we'll catch you guys here down the road. Have a great rest of your week and weekend. We'll see you here next week. Night of Champions 2023. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.